A metallic click shattered the silence in the Asylum Morgue as a locked drawer moved on its own, setting off an event that defied conventional logic and demanded immediate technical investigation. The decaying facility, once used for banned experiments, stored only cold data and precise evidence without any unnecessary embellishment, but its deteriorating walls concealed dangerous secrets. Therefore, every measured detail required an objective, fact-based analysis. Elizabeth, a pathologist renowned for her analytical precision and strict focus on measurable data, arrived at the scene with instruments in hand and a recorder set to capture every detail. But her reputation for direct, unembellished investigation was soon challenged when she encountered evidence that suggested deliberate manipulation of biological systems, therefore compelling her to begin an immediate and thorough examination of the anomaly. A lone night guard had earlier reported that a locked drawer in the morgue emitted unusual sounds and displayed unexpected mechanical movements that appeared autonomous. But his account was entirely factual and free from emotive language, therefore lending credibility to his observation and forcing Elizabeth to retrieve the drawer's technical logs and examine its contents with strict objectivity. The unidentified subject, a young girl found on the overgrown asylum grounds, exhibited rapid tissue regeneration that defied natural decay processes, but the precise closing of wounds and systematic realignment of bones indicated a controlled sequence beyond normal physiology. Therefore, Elizabeth reviewed X-rays that showed skeletal shifts executed with exact measurements, confirming that an experimental compound was at work and suggesting that the subject was an unintended product of a secret project known as Protocol Delta. Elizabeth began her investigation in the morgue by documenting the drawer's position and recording every technical anomaly as she carefully removed the thin, dust-covered sheet concealing the subject. But the body did not remain inert as expected. Therefore, it initiated controlled movements such as the rapid sealing of wounds and the realignment of bone fragments in a sequence that was both swift and deliberate. Every observation was recorded in a detailed log, but the data offered no support for any natural process. Therefore, she collected tissue samples and measured temperature fluctuations that repeatedly deviated from standard biological ranges. While processing her initial findings, Elizabeth accessed archived records from the asylum that contained technical files on a discontinued experimental project called Protocol Delta, but the documentation was terse and strictly factual, therefore providing only essential parameters of the process designed to induce controlled regeneration in human tissue. The files specified exact temperature ranges, chemical compositions, and bone realignment metrics, but they also confirmed that the project had been abruptly terminated, therefore leaving residual compounds capable of reactivating under specific conditions. Elizabeth moved through the facility's sterile yet decaying corridors with a portable scanner and recorder, mapping every room and recording deviations in electrical and thermal readings. But physical barriers and malfunctioning security systems did not deter her methodical progress. Therefore, she advanced with calculated precision, ensuring that each step contributed directly to a comprehensive technical profile of the asylum's anomalies. In the central laboratory, a malfunctioning monitor displayed a live feed from the morgue that captured the subject's ongoing regeneration in real time, but the feed presented only raw data without narrative embellishment, therefore reinforcing that every movement was controlled by an underlying algorithm rather than random chance. Elizabeth recalibrated her equipment to increase sampling frequency, therefore capturing every data point for cross-reference with the technical specifications of Protocol Delta. An internal alarm suddenly activated from a different wing of the building, but its tone and timing matched a system malfunction rather than an external threat, therefore prompting Elizabeth to leave the laboratory and pursue the alarm source. She navigated locked doors and unresponsive control panels that hindered her progress, but her focus remained on extracting actionable data. Therefore, she used her access device to bypass electronic locks and continued her systematic investigation. In an adjacent storage room, Elizabeth discovered boxes of experimental serum vials and technical manuals that documented the progression of Protocol Delta, but the records were completely devoid of any emotive language and consisted solely of technical specifications. Therefore, they provided a timeline indicating that the project had escalated before being abruptly halted. She cross-referenced the serum's chemical composition with the anomalies observed in the subject's tissue samples. But, while the correlation was not absolute, It strongly suggested that residual compounds from protocol delta were actively influencing the regeneration process, therefore validating her working hypothesis. As Elizabeth continued her methodical exploration, a deliberate clatter echoed in the corridor, but the sound was presented as a factual indicator without atmospheric interpretation. Therefore, it signaled that the subject had left its initial containment zone. Thermal data confirmed that the subject was moving away from the morgue toward an adjacent containment area, but its movement was measured and deliberate, therefore indicating that the reanimated subject was following a pre-programmed sequence rather than acting impulsively. Upon reaching the containment area, Elizabeth observed the subject pause briefly before resuming a series of controlled movements designed to test its range of motion, but no immediate signs of aggression were detected. Therefore, she recorded every positional change and thermal output with high precision, adjusting her scanner settings to capture the exact sequence of actions. However, when the subject began to interact with nearby equipment in a way that escalated into direct physical challenge, Elizabeth reassessed the situation as one demanding immediate tactical response. In a narrow corridor connecting the containment area to the facility's central exit, the subject suddenly increased its pace and made a deliberate attempt to access a control panel that regulated the building's security systems, but its actions followed a logical, measurable sequence as recorded in the technical logs, therefore prompting Elizabeth to position a heavy equipment cart as a temporary barrier. Though the cart did little to slow the subject's progress, she then recorded its trajectory and prepared to follow at a safe distance, while ensuring that every movement was documented in real time. The chase through the deteriorating hallways of the asylum intensified as the subject's path became less predictable, but its actions remained confined within the strict parameters outlined by Protocol Delta's residual programming, therefore indicating that the subject was not operating with hostile intent, but rather executing a controlled test sequence. Elizabeth maintained a continuous record of its thermal, mechanical, and spatial data, but when the subject finally reached an electronically locked exit door, the situation demanded immediate problem-solving rather than extended analysis, therefore forcing her to focus on the task of unlocking the exit. Elizabeth quickly approached the control panel adjacent to the exit door and used her portable device to initiate a rapid override sequence, but the electronic lock required a series of precise keystrokes that confirmed the need for immediate technical intervention. Therefore, she executed the override sequence, which resulted in the door disengaging with a mechanical click, though the subject continued its pursuit. Therefore, she forced the door open and sprinted into the overgrown courtyard outside the asylum while maintaining a secure data link with her recorder. Outside, the asylum's crumbling facade provided no aesthetic relief, but served solely as a physical barrier between Elizabeth and any potential reactivation of the experiment. But she had already transmitted all collected data to the overseeing committee in a strictly factual report, therefore ensuring that every technical detail was preserved without extraneous narrative. The report consisted exclusively of numerical data, technical readings, and measured observations that confirmed the residual effects of Protocol Delta, but it also indicated that the experiment had not been fully terminated, therefore establishing a clear mandate for continued technical intervention. Over the following days, Elizabeth returned to the facility under stringent operational protocols, but her actions remained entirely procedural and devoid of emotional commentary. Therefore, she assembled a team of experts dedicated solely to collecting additional samples, cross-referencing technical logs, and securing critical areas of the building. Every step they took was driven by direct, measurable necessity, therefore resulting in a comprehensive technical mapping of the facility's remaining anomalies. The team's investigation revealed that the regeneration process observed in the subject was consistently present across multiple areas of the asylum, but the phenomenon was clearly confined to the effects of Protocol Delta, therefore confirming that the reanimation was not an isolated incident but part of a broader network of experiments executed under strict scientific parameters. Technical files from various departments provided unembellished evidence of experimental protocols that had been initiated and abruptly halted, but the residual compounds had persisted in triggering controlled regeneration. Therefore, each finding added a crucial data point to a growing technical database that mapped the experiment's full extent. In a central control room, which served as the nerve center for the experimental systems, the team discovered that the primary control system responsible for regulating the experimental processes was malfunctioning, but the malfunction was recorded in the system logs as a series of precise, measured commands executed in a continuous loop, therefore indicating that the system was stuck in a cycle of reactivation. Elizabeth and her team analyzed these logs with rigorous technical methods, but the data clearly pinpointed a specific set of parameters that, when met, would trigger the regeneration sequence, therefore leaving open the possibility that the experiment could restart under certain environmental conditions. Elizabeth compiled a comprehensive, unembellished report that detailed every technical anomaly, every fluctuation in temperature, and every deviation from expected biological processes, but the report was strictly factual and left no room for emotional narrative, therefore concluding with a clear mandate for ongoing surveillance and immediate technical deactivation measures. However, the report also noted that several key parameters remained unresolved. Therefore, the overseeing committee issued an urgent directive for continuous monitoring and rapid intervention in any facility that exhibited similar technical anomalies. The final phase of the investigation focused on remote detection of residual signals from the control system, but these signals were weak and sporadic. Therefore, advanced sensors were deployed to capture every measurable fluctuation in real time. Elizabeth oversaw the sensor deployment and recorded every data point with exact precision. But the results indicated that although the subject's regeneration had been temporarily contained, residual activity persisted within the control system, therefore leading to the conclusion that Protocol Delta's effects could re-emerge under the right conditions. In a conclusive yet open-ended final report, Elizabeth communicated that the anomaly presented by the reanimated subject was a direct result of engineered compounds from Protocol Delta, but the underlying control system remained active, therefore establishing a persistent risk of reactivation that demanded continued technical intervention and immediate action upon any indication of system fluctuation. The report was delivered in measured, clear language that focused solely on technical facts, thereby eliminating any extraneous narrative or filler language that might detract from the critical data. Elizabeth's final statement to the overseeing committee was entirely unembellished and precise, stating that while the immediate threat had been contained, the comprehensive data confirmed that the experimental process had not been fully neutralized, but every subsequent action would be guided by strict principles of technical analysis and rapid response, therefore ensuring that any future reactivation would be met with immediate, factual intervention. Her statement ended with a call for continuous surveillance and a commitment to permanent deactivation measures that were as direct and unambiguous as the data itself. Protocol Delta, as documented through every rigorously measured observation and every technical data point, remained an uncontrolled phenomenon that bridged the boundary between life and engineered regeneration. But the implications of this process were recorded solely in objective, unembellished terms. Therefore, the ongoing investigation focused exclusively on monitoring, securing, and ultimately neutralizing any residual effects of the experiment, while leaving open the possibility that further technical intervention might become necessary. Elizabeth's work continued beyond the initial investigation, but her focus remained fixed on measured, factual analysis rather than atmospheric description. Therefore, every subsequent report and every corrective action was driven by a clear mandate to prevent any future anomalies from arising, ensuring that the reality of Protocol Delta was understood only in precise, unembellished technical terms. The case concluded not with dramatic flourish, but with an enduring directive for continuous, technical vigilance, thereby fulfilling the mandate of direct, unambiguous action required to safeguard against future risks.